Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here as we get set for our 9th race of the second season of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series. Getting ready to go speedway racing now after going to a short track, going to a road course. We are here at Michigan International Raceway, or Michigan International Speedway, rather. Getting ready for the running of the Consumer Energy 400. This racetrack last year was the site of a 1-2 finish for Blue Oval Automotive, a team that already has two of their drivers in victory lane this season, that being Trey Wright and Jose Mills. The only driver that hasn't been to victory lane for their team so far this year, Jordan Lopez, who comes into today's race as the defending winner. On the front row for today's race, a couple of Toyotas who have all been to victory lane so far this year. You've got Michael Norman lined up on the pole position. He won at the dirt track of Springfield a few weeks back, his first career Duracell Cup Series victory, which probably will put him into a playoff position. He would love to build off of that, maybe get his second win of the season here very early on. Alongside of him is our Las Vegas Raceway winner, that is Wyatt Quayle. So two drivers, two Toyotas here starting up at the front. I don't really know if track position is going to play a huge key into today's race, but they're obviously going to get the opportunity to maybe get a bonus point for leading a lap early on in this one. So we'll wait and see what culminates during the course of today's race. This is going to be an interesting one here today because we ran a short track at Bristol, a dirt track at Springfield, and a road course last week at Sonoma. Really, the 2019 rules package, let's be honest, didn't come into play a whole heck of a lot in those races. With this being a bigger track where they can run 3 and 4 wide, we will definitely see the rules package come into play in this one, and it should make for some very exciting racing. It will be 50 laps of racing here today, and maybe we will get into a long green flag run. We'll have to wait and see. This track, sometimes if they go 3 wide and 4 wide, they sometimes get anxious for 5 wide, and that's when we run into trouble. Let's go down trackside, get those most famous words.
Drivers, start your engines.
All right, so as they get set to roll off here behind the pace car, let's give you your top 10 the point standings coming into today's race, as you've got Mitchell Collins now the new points leader after a solid outing last week at Sonoma. He holds 13 points over new second place in the standings. That is Carter Friesen, former Daytona 500 winner. Ryan Acosta lost the points lead last week, drops from first down to third. He's 22 points back. Benjamin Miles currently in 4th, and 5th is Carson Gum. They are 24 and 25 points back, respectively. The rest of your top 10 in points, defending winner of this race, Jordan Lopez, sits in 6th. Seth Cole currently in 7th. Charles Sanford is currently 8th in points, with rookie Marcus Sacchi in 9th, and Dylan Young is now in the 10th position. Our onboard cameras, should we need them today, the Chevrolet driver is Charles Sanford with the Orange Vanilla Coke on board. Ryan Brommer, who took the checkered flag last week at Sonoma. He's our Dodge driver with the Mountain Dew on board. Ryan Butcher is our Toyota designated driver with the 3M on board. And our Ford driver is Adam Garcia with the Cheez-It onboard camera. Our helmet cam today, on board the number 38 of our defending winner of this race, Jordan Lopez, the Asus Republic of Gamers helmet cam. Here we go then, as this is going to be one of a really exciting camera angle coming off of turn 4, watching the drivers sweep on by as they head for the start-finish line. See all the drivers lined up there of our 40-car field, and as they enter the Geico restart zone, let's roll in the Irish Hills. See Michael Norman drift up to that middle to outside line. That's going to be the preferred line, especially off the corner. This version of Michigan, the inside line works on the entry to the corner, but from center off, that outside line gets a much better run. You can see right there how the 41 gets a little squirrely down there on that inside line, especially on fresh tires. And Michael Norman, using the wider, longer area where you can build up more speed on that middle to high line, is going to hold on and lead the first lap, as now rookie Alexander Rowe will challenge to the inside going into turn 1. Pretty much the way you're going to be able to get that inside line to work is you got to use the proverbial slide job. You got to drive it in deep, slide it up off the corner, and hope that you have the car that you're battling cleared by the time you get to the center of turns 1 and 2 or 3 and 4, depending on which side of the racetrack you make your move. Little contact right there between Wyatt Quayle and Matthew Rodriguez, and that was close. Wyatt Quayle slid up into Matt Rod's left front, and ooh, we got a car down there. Well, I thought he was using the apron. That's Jose Mills, who finished second here 1 year ago. I thought he was going all the way down to the apron, which is allowed, but not exactly recommended, as he's following in the tire tracks right now of Jesse Turner. 4 wide, you can see here all the way through the field. Really close there between Austin LaPlante and Chris Dollarton. And they were 4 wide further back as well. They settle it back out to about 3 wide as they head into turn 3. Points leader Mitchell Collins has worked his way now up into the top 5, battling side by side with William Brock. That's for 4th place. And right behind him, you've got Ryan Butcher, Matthew Rodriguez. As right now, Michael Norman enjoying the view out in front as they're going to go 4 wide again into turn 1 in a couple areas of the track. Austin LaPlante was way down there on the bottom. Vince Almariego was way down there on the bottom as they're 3 wide off of turn 2 for 2nd place. Teammates Alexander Rowe and William Brock. Zach Rogers in his Dodge way up top side, and he will clear both of them and move into the runner-up spot. We mentioned about Michael Norman and Wyatt Quayle starting on the front row. Both of them with wins this season, Norman at Springfield and Quayle at Las Vegas, but both of them came into this race still kind of struggling in the point standings. Michael Norman 22nd in points, Wyatt Quayle 23rd. So at least right now for Michael Norman, as Wyatt Quayle seems to be fading back a bit, Norman at least now with that win in the bank trying to have consistent finishes to climb his way up through the point standings. A lot of drivers actually last week with good runs at Sonoma moved up multiple positions in the point standings. The highest of those were Ryan Brommer and Benny Watson, who both moved up 10 positions apiece. Brommer obviously with the win, and Benny Watson finished 2nd in that race. Brommer moved from 36th to 26th with his win, and Benny Watson moved from 31st to 21st. Some other drivers that moved up in the point standings, Cody Lamas jumped up 8 spots from 24th to 16th. And Jessica Shelton jumped up 5 positions from 17th to 12th. So if she can have another good run today, she would probably move up inside of the top 10. Zach Rogers right now in that 2nd position. Rogers comes into this race currently in the 11th position in points, trying to get what would be his 3rd win of his Duracell Cup Series career, 1st of the season, and make it back-to-back victories for Bulldog Motorsports as his teammate Ryan Brommer dominated last week's race at Sonoma. Chris Dollarton up here towards the front. A lot of people looking at the defending champion coming into this race, sitting in the 39th position in points and wondering, is this what people refer to as the championship slump? A lot of times, NO 2003 offline commentators will tell you that their champion the following year will end up kind of going into a slump, not be able to get a good finish. But the thing that I kind of look back at is season 1 when he won the championship. Let's not forget, he was outside the top 30 in the points until pretty much the All-Star race break that year. Then it was the second half of the season where his finishes got much better. So I don't think it's time to hit the panic button just yet. Jose Mills has methodically been working his way up through the field. Undoubtedly, this might be the same race car that they brought to Michigan last year, where he finished 2nd place to his teammate Jordan Lopez in a 1-2 finish for BOA. And showing off that same strong speed here again this season. As right now, I think he's been the one that's picked up the most positions since the drop of the green flag. Charles Sanford following right behind him there in that 0-3. Sanford coming into this race 8th in the point standings, still looking for his first Duracell Cup Series victory. And now Kyle Matthews side by side with Trey Wright. Got quite a number of former winners up here towards the front. Matthews, who won at Phoenix, Trey Wright, who won at Manassas, Jose Mills, who won at, was it Atlanta, I believe? Or no, it was Bristol, I think. Four wide back here. I've been noticing that these drivers, especially when they're in the middle of the 4 wide, they're bouncing off each other's doors, but for the most part, they're doing a good job of keeping it together. A couple of drivers have lost the lead group. Oh, and the caution is out. Benjamin Miles has had an issue. I was just going to drop to the rear of the field. I had not noticed that the yellow flag was out, and it comes out for the first time today on lap 10. And that might be why Johnny Gardner and Sebastian Kukulon had lost the field. They might have checked up to avoid the wreck that had happened, and now we got to keep an eye back here. Just make sure that they settle it out. Don't wreck under caution. They settle it back to 3 wide when they were 4 wide, so I think we're going to be okay. First caution of the day here on lap 10. And Benny Watson, who had a second place finish last week at Sonoma, was caught up in this. Rookie Marcus Sacchi also with damage. Driver that came into this race 9th in points. Cole Baker, our Daytona 500 winner, was involved. Derek Hamill's involved. Seth Cole, 7th in points in it. And Cody Lamas also involved, a driver who was 16th in points coming into this one. Another driver who also had a good run last week at Sonoma. And our top 3 in the rookie point standings were collected up in that one. Cody Lamas, Marcus Sacchi, and Derek Hamill. As Michael Norman will lead the field down here for pit stops. Don't know if this is the only pit stop they'll have to make today, or if we may end up having late pit stops in the closing stages of this race. Not 100% certain what the fuel window is for these drivers. We do know that Benjamin Miles was also caught up in that wreck. I think he's already taken his car to the garage. That's another driver that came in top 10 in points, 4th in the standings. So as of right now, based off of the drivers that we see involved, at least 3 of those drivers that were collected up in this one came into this race inside of the top 10 in points. And of course, you've got some former winners there that got pieces of that wreck as well, like Daytona 500 winner Cole Baker. Zach Rogers wins the battle off of pit road against Michael Norman and Trey Wright, so he'll restart the leader. That'll be our first lead change of the day, as we'll head back now for a look at what brought out this caution at Michigan. All right, this was 4 wide going down to turn 1, and it looks like Benny Watson came down right into the right rear quarter panel of Benjamin Miles. And there you see all the others collected up in it. Seth Cole, Cody Lamas, Marcus Sacchi, Cole Baker, as well as Derek Hamill in the 31. Benny Watson got that right side damage, but he was able to drive away. And that has called an end to the day for Benjamin Miles. Tough break for him, as he was just an innocent victim in all of that. The driver that really triggered that wreck was Benny Watson. I don't know if he thought he was clear on the 33 when he moved down, or if he was just trying to get a draft going into turn 1. Whatever the case, though, he was the one that definitely made the contact, hooked the 33 up into other drivers, and I don't know if we're going to have drivers continue or not, but I definitely know that if we do have some drivers continue with the damage that I've seen they've sustained, knowing the speedway racing that we've had not only last season but also here this season at tracks like Manassas and Las Vegas and Atlanta, we're going to have some drivers off the pace. And with the way the draft works here, really amping up the speeds of these race cars, we could have slower traffic come into play in this race if we get into a long green flag run, which we were kind of under just moments ago before this caution came out. Let's go back for the restart now, as Zach Rogers is your new race leader. We have gotten the 1 to green signal. Only driver that is officially retired from the race is Benjamin Miles. So tough break for Miles, as this will undoubtedly drop him quite a number of spots in the standings. Don't know if it'll drop him out of the top 10 or not, as he came into this race 4th in points. So drivers that we know sustained damage from that wreck, like Marcus Sacchi, Benny Watson, Seth Cole, Cody Lamas, Derek Hamill, they are continuing on. We'll have to see if they're up to speed, because if we go into a long green flag run from here to the checkered flag, these race leaders could very well encounter those slower machines and definitely play a factor into the outcome of this race. Zach Rogers' team gets it done on pit road, so he will be restarting as the leader, trying to make it back-to-back weeks for Bulldog Motorsports going to victory lane. Trey Wright lines up 2nd, Michael Norman 3rd, Kyle Matthews 4th, Chris Dollerton 5th. Then it's Matt McIntyre, Jack Mitchell, Matthew Rodriguez, Jose Mills, and Ryan Acosta. That is your top 10 as we get ready to go back green flag racing in the Geico restart zone on lap 15. You know, before these races, I like to look at the statistics and everything coming into this race, and one thing that I found very interesting is out of our 8 different winners so far this season, Only 3 of them were in the playoffs last season. That was Carson Gum, Kyle Matthews, and Jose Mills. Trey Wright and Wyatt Quayle, they were winners last year. But Wyatt Quayle and Trey Wright were too far down the points for their wins to count towards playoff positions. And then, of course, you've also got first-time winners this season in Michael Norman and Cole Baker. So they would be making their playoff debuts if they make it in. See Michael Norman trying to get the inside line working to get the lead back, but we documented at the top of the program, and obviously you've seen it in the first 15 laps of this race, that outside line is the preferred line here. How about Jack Mitchell? Great run right now there for that McDonald's Chevrolet. Jack Mitchell coming into this race dead last in points. He's still looking for his first top 10 of the season. As a matter of fact, there are only 2 drivers in the field that have yet to score a top 10 this year. Mitchell is one of them. Rookie Alexander Rowe is the other. And a battle for the lead. And how about that? Matt McIntyre made it work. And he got a little help there from teammate Michael Norman to help push him to the front. That was interesting. I think they used the middle groove out of turn 4. So obviously there is some grip to be able to make a pass low as long as you're able to keep your car up there just a little bit towards the middle line rather than all the way down there on the bottom. And now Michael Norman's trying to move into second place. Matt McIntyre last year, very struggling season for him. But so far this year, hasn't been much better. He comes into this race 27th in points as his teammate Michael Norman trying to take the lead. Can't quite get the run off the corner, so Matt McIntyre will hold the spot at least for now. Rogers into second, and now Kyle Matthews there in third. Got quite a number of the Michael Norman Motorsports cars up here. Matthew Rodriguez up there inside the top 10 as well, that Caterpillar Toyota. Don't know where their other teammate Cody Lamas is because he's damaged and off the pace, and we're actually going to go back and look at that. You can actually see, I think all the damaged cars are in a group of their own. Watson, Lamas, Derek Hamill, and Seth Cole. Yeah, they're all together here. They're going about 179 down the straightaway. The race leader is, let's see what he hits in the middle of a straightaway. He's at 179 now. He's hitting about 185, 186, about 187 going into a corner. Same corner for these drivers. Let's see what they're at. Hamill tops out about 179, so they're about 6 to 7 miles per hour slower than the race leaders. And like I said, if we go into a long green flag run, we could very well see those slower cars play a factor in the outcome of this race. How about Jordan Lopez? First time we've seen him today towards the front, and he takes the race lead away from Matt McIntyre. What a move there on the front straightaway. Trying to go back-to-back seasons with taking a checkered flag here at Michigan. Matt McIntyre says not so fast, crosses over on the inside line. And it's really interesting here. It took us that caution before we start to see drivers now actually battling for the race lead. I mean, Michael Norman really didn't let anybody even get to his back bumper in the first 10 laps of this race. And now all of a sudden, we've had Jordan Lopez at the front, Matt McIntyre at the front, Zach Rogers, albeit with the help of that pit stop up at the front. So we've had 3 lead changes in the first 10 laps since going back green than we had in the first 10 laps of this race. And how about this? Jordan Lopez, Jose Mills, 1-2. That's the way they crossed the line here 1 year ago, with only 6/100ths of a second separating the two of them. I just looked back at last year's results, and Jack Mitchell up here running the top 5. Actually, this is one of his better tracks. He finished 3rd here 1 year ago, so impressive run for him. Jesse Turner, Mitchell Collins up here. A lot of Fords up here towards the front now. A lot of Mustangs. A number of our onboard camera drivers are actually up here. Our helmet cam driver, Jordan Lopez, up here in the race lead. You got Ryan Butcher and Adam Garcia in 8th and 9th. as Jordan Lopez continues to lead the way. They cross the line now. Drivers at the tail end of the field are just in the middle of turns 1 and 2. I'm sorry, no, that was 3 and 4 rather. Thought that was 1 and 2, but they're in 3 and 4. So there is still about maybe half a racetrack, a little more than half the track before we get from the tail end of the field to the race leader. So I don't know. It'll be a while at least before we end up having the race leaders catch that slower traffic. And like I stated before too, with that caution coming out on lap 10, that seemed awfully early for these drivers to have their fuel window open to make it the rest of the way. We're just about approaching the halfway point of this race. I think these drivers are going to have to be on pit road at least one more time. Question is when? Kind of a wad back here. This is just outside of the top 10 actually. It's the battle for 11th. Dylan Young, Matt McIntyre, Sebastian Kukulon, last week's winner Ryan Brommer. There's James Qualls in the middle of this. Carter Friesen there in the 37, second in the points. Was hoping he could take the points lead over heading into next week. But right now, the driver he's trying to battle, Mitchell Collins, is up ahead of him, currently in the 4th position. Got the former points leader, Ryan Acosta right there, that Home Depot Camry. And there's Levi McIntyre in the 99. Levi McIntyre had a top 10 run here last year, 6th. Trying to make his way up here towards the front. His teammate Chris Dollerton right now up in the top 10 and 7th. And I don't know necessarily, it didn't look like Johnny Gardner and Sebastian Kukulon either were involved or had to slow up for our only caution today, but it was a big break for Kukulon, because right now he is up inside of the top 10. Caught back up to the field with the aid of that yellow flag, and now fighting his way up to the front. He is the highest running of the backmarker motorsports cars. He's only one of 2 that are up to speed right now, as both Cole Baker and Seth Cole were caught up in the first caution and only caution up to this point. Trapped down that inside line now is, how about James Qualls? Good run there for the 54. Qualls last week had a semi-decent run at Sonoma, jumped up 2 spots in the standings from 38th to 36th, trying to continue to move up in the points after what's been a very struggling start to the year for that team. Matter of fact, for Joanna Atwood Motorsports, it has really been kind of a 50-50. Wyatt Quayle and Ryan Acosta have had great seasons. Wyatt Quayle with the win at Las Vegas. Ryan Acosta has been up in the top 5 in points for most of the weeks, going back to like Atlanta and Phoenix. However, on the other side, you got Johnny Gardner. We haven't talked a whole lot about him this season. That's because he's mired down in the point standings. Currently came into this race in 38th, and then you got James Qualls, 36th in points. So here's an interesting scenario. Lopez and Mills, they finished 1-2 to each other a year ago. Now, right now, Jose Mills already has a victory. And Jordan Lopez is the only Blue Oval Automotive car that has not won yet this season. Now, Jose Mills realizes that every win you get during the regular season gives you bonus points during the playoffs. It also helps you as far as locking yourself up in playoff position. How anxious is he going to be to race his teammate for this win? Mitchell Collins right there in 3rd, trying to close in, make it a 3-Ford fight for the lead. Mitchell Collins had a win at a 1.5 mile speedway with the 2019 rules package last season at Kansas, so he's no stranger to a high-speed racetrack. Oh, I think we might have pit stops. Either that or Jordan Lopez got really loose into the corner. Well, I guess that was just the case. He didn't get loose into the corner. Right now, how about the Fords? 1, 2, 3, 4. As Jesse Turner, actually they're the top 5. Turner and Dollerton in 4th and 5th. Before you get to our first Toyota and Ryan Butcher. Last year at our 1.5 mile and 2 mile racetracks, especially early on in the season, Ford Mustangs were really, really strong. Looks like they're strong again. Got another Mustang up there in Levi McIntyre. As looks like the best battle will be going on from third place on back, and that's going on almost a second and a half behind the two teammates of Lopez and Mills. 20 laps to go here at Michigan. And I'm 99.9% certain they cannot make it on fuel. They are going to have to pit at some point. Question is, when do they do it? What about the traffic? Right now going through 3 and 4 are Seth Cole and Benny Watson. Leader now going through 3 and 4, and it doesn't matter because the caution is out. Yellow flag is out for the second time here today at Michigan, and it might have come out right on the precipice of green flag pit stops. And this changes everything. The strategy that Lopez and Mills had right there of trying to pull away from the rest of the field was working to perfection. Could have turned into those two battling it out for this win, but this caution coming out with about 20 laps to go is going to bring everybody back into the picture. And I'd be worried if I were them, because Jesse Turner, Ryan Butcher, Chris Dollerton, Levi McIntyre look like they've got some pretty good long-run cars. And we'll be getting a restart with somewhere around 15 laps to go. So plenty of time still for someone to make a move to take this victory. Number of drivers on pit road: William Brock, Alexander Rowe, Charles Sanford. And there you see the 42 of Vince Almriego. A lot of Chevrolets in that one. It's a big break for drivers like Benny Watson and Seth Cole, who could have found themselves a lap down in a few laps. Cole Baker's actually going to stay out in the 11. I don't know if he's a lap down or not. If he isn't, that's going to have him on the race lead. Waiting to see what the ticker says of him crossing the line. Nope, he is a lap down. So he probably came to pit road when we didn't see it. See about the battle off pit lane here. Oh, Mills got him. Mills is going to come out first, or is he? Can somebody beat both of them off pit road? No. Jose Mills' team gets it done on pit lane. So he'll come out the leader over Jordan Lopez. Looks like Mitchell Collins, then Ryan Butcher and Carter Friesen were the top 5. And there you see Baker. He stayed out because I think he pitted under green. He will probably come to pit road either this time or else he will be restarting ahead of the race leaders, which could be a little dicey. So Jose Mills, the leader now after this caution, after the pit stops. Let's take a look and see what brought out the yellow flag for the second time here today at Michigan. This is going to look very familiar to what brought out our first caution. Again, going into turn 1. And contact made there between Jack Mitchell and Alexander Rowe. It's actually the car that makes the contact that goes around this time. And this is the bad part. Alexander Rowe comes right back down in front of traffic. Nowhere for his teammate William Brock to go. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Charles Sanford hitting the 24 as he was upside down. Vince Almriego nowhere to go as well. Wyatt Quayle in the 41 got collected also. We didn't see that he was involved, but he was. And this is going to be a crazy onboard. Charles Sanford got a bird's eye view of an upside down Red Bull Chevrolet. Let's take the onboard camera and see what he saw. High speeds usually mean very violent hits, and that's exactly what we're going to see here, courtesy of the Orange Vanilla Coke onboard with Charles Sanford. First, the shot from William Brock, and then the 24 was upside down when Charles Sanford hit him. And that is some hard licks for not only the 24, but also the 03 and the 88. Alright, so with that caution, we have more drivers in the garage area. They include Wyatt Quayle, who started on the outside of the front row for this one. Vince Almriego, Charles Sanford, William Brock, and Alexander Rowe. 2 drivers that this is really going to hurt are Brock and Sanford. Sanford came into this race 8th in points. William Brock came in 13th in the standings. So they will both fall quite a bit through the points. And obviously Wyatt Quayle coming into this race. We documented at the beginning of this race, he was 23rd in points despite his Las Vegas win. He needs to get himself away from 30th in the points, and this DNF will certainly not help him. So we have 34 cars still running, and they are all on the lead lap. Cole Baker fell a lap down. He decided to stay out, so he actually restarts ahead of the leader, Jose Mills. So this will be a very interesting restart going into turn 1. Mills will be the leader over Jordan Lopez. Mitchell Collins in 3rd. Carter Friesen was actually 4th over Ryan Butcher. I didn't see them come off pit road correctly there. Levi McIntyre 6th. Sebastian Kukulon up in 7th. Jesse Turner 8th. Chris Dollerton 9th. And 10th is Matt McIntyre. James Qualls 11th. Kyle Matthews in 12th. Trey Wright 13th. Austin LaPlante 14th. 15th is Matt Haas. 16th Adam Garcia. Rest of your top 20 are Matthew Rodriguez, Ryan Acosta, Johnny Gardner, and Ryan Brommer. Green flag set to come back in the air, as you can see down through the rest of your lineup for your running order, as the green flag is back in the air, and Lopez going to try and use the outside line, hoping that Baker goes down low to pin Jose Mills there. Nope, no such luck. Baker moves up high. Jose Mills trying to pass the 11. Looks like that 11's a little bit up to speed. Maybe doesn't have straightaway speed, but he definitely held in the corner. Oh, look at this. Are we going to go 4 wide for the race lead into turn 3? Yes, we are. Butcher way down in the bottom. Collins in the middle with Mills. And Jose Mills going to get the launch off the corner. He'll take the race lead. Well, they were slicing and dicing back there as well, mid-pack. Saw Michael Norman making a gutsy move there on Johnny Gardner, as they're still 4 wide here at the front. 2 rows deep. Look at LaPlante way down in the bottom. Lopez in the middle with Collins as they battle for second along with Levi McIntyre. Oh, there they go into the wall! Carter Friesen around with Cole Baker. Caution will wave for the 3rd time today. As the race draws closer and closer to its end, the moves get dicier and dicier, and Lopez will clear for the race lead and bring us back to our 3rd caution of the day. That was a power move by Jordan Lopez to get around his teammate going into turn 3. How about Sebastian Kukulon picking up spots? He's up to 3rd now behind Mills, with Matt McIntyre now completing the top 5 behind Mitchell Collins. And Cole Baker, that car off the pace on that restart. That might have been what wadded him up. And he is done for the day. Benny Watson's 2nd wreck he's been involved in today. Last week's runner-up at Sonoma finds himself probably with a DNF. Zach Rogers back here along with Trey Wright. Trey Wright definitely has some damage on the rear of his machine. Don't know if Zach Rogers does or not. He was up front early on in this race. Kyle Matthews, another contender early on. He's got damage, as does Jessica Shelton. James Qualls might have been involved in this wreck as well. Chris Dollerton's back here too. A lot of drivers had the misfortune of being wadded up on that outside line, and as consequence got involved in that wreck. I know it started with Carter Friesen and the lap machine of Cole Baker. Let's go back and see what happened off turn 2. Well, I know we could partially put some of the blame on Cole Baker, but also they were 5 wide. So, I mean, there's not a whole heck of a lot he can do. Contact actually starts there between Matt McIntyre and Carter Friesen, forces Friesen up into Baker. Jesse Turner got a piece of that. Adam Garcia might have gotten a slight piece. And then, as I said, everybody on that outside line just gets wadded up. There's just nowhere for anybody to go. Also in that middle line, as Kyle Matthews spins in front of Chris Dollerton. Actually, Chris, I think, got through. There's Jessica Shelton. I think she ran into the back of her teammate Kyle Matthews. Qualls might have run into the back of her. Actually, nope. Right there is where she gets hit. Jack Mitchell never got on the brakes, and then Benny Watson comes flying in, and he clobbers both Trey Wright and Cole Baker. Dylan Young lost a lot of positions, but I don't think he got involved. He came to a dead stop, and I don't think Zach Rogers got any damage either. I think he also slowed down in time. Well, let's take some onboards here of this wreck out at turn number 2, our 3rd caution of the day. On board with Adam Garcia in the Cheez-It Ford. Three more drivers back in the garage area after this one. The most notable of those would probably have to be Jack Mitchell, who was up there inside the top 10 for a good majority of this race. He'll finish in 32nd. Benny Watson, involved in his second caution of the day, he will DNF in 33rd, and Cole Baker, who was a lap down at the time that he was involved in that wreck, will finish in 34th. So a tough break there for the Daytona 500 winner. Baker also comes into this race 20th in points, so he really could not afford a DNF, as he will probably drop down pretty close to that 30th in the standings cutoff line. Top 10 as we get ready to go back green. Jordan Lopez, with that move in turn 3 coming to the caution, will lead teammate Jose Mills. Sebastian Kukulon, the rookie, in third. Mitchell Collins and Matt McIntyre, your top 5. Then it's Levi McIntyre, Ryan Butcher, Austin LaPlante, Matt Haas, and Adam Garcia. That is your top 10. How about drivers like LaPlante and Matt Haas and Adam Garcia? We haven't talked about them today, and now they're up here in the top 10 late as we restart with 9 laps to go. See some other drivers back there just outside the top 10, like Matthew Rodriguez, Michael Norman. I see Carson Gum back there. Carter Friesen, who had some contact from that wreck, still up inside the top 15. Ryan Acosta and last week's winner, Ryan Brommer. Don't count these drivers out just yet. Does anybody have anything for Jordan Lopez? Off turn 4, top 3 single file. Ford, Chevy. Then you've got a Toyota and Matt McIntyre slotting into 4th. 3 wide behind them. That's Brian Butcher, Mitchell Collins, and Levi McIntyre. Now they're going to start battling up here for the 2nd position. Actually, it's more for 3rd place. Sebastian Kukulon tried to pass Jose Mills on the inside. Now Matt McIntyre swings around the outside, and Sebastian Kukulon getting freight trained right now as Ryan Butcher will go around for 4th. Matt McIntyre trying to keep his car there in that dark gray to get the grip. Car got a little loose on entry, though. It's going to lose him some momentum. Might cost him 3rd place as here comes Ryan Butcher up the top side. And how about the Toyotas late? 3, 4, 5 as Matt Haas now moves into 5th. Meanwhile, Jose Mills on the back bumper of Jordan Lopez. Remember back before the 2nd caution came out, the 38 and the 98 were nose to tail. I don't know if they were just riding, waiting for whenever that pit stop was going to take place, or if Jose Mills really just didn't have anything to be able to make a move on Jordan Lopez. We're now going to find out if that's the case, because he is closing back in on the bumper of his teammate, and they better hurry, because Matt McIntyre has got a big run on both of them in that 3rd position. Oh, I don't know if he's going to be able to get there in time. If he had been able to make that move a little bit sooner on the straightaway, he might have been able to take 2nd place away from Mills. Let's see if he can keep the hammer down here on the exit of the corner. Oh, had to lift a little bit, and here comes Ryan Butcher swinging to the outside, and he will get there. Woo! McIntyre tried to block him, couldn't do it. Here comes Adam Garcia. That Cheez-It Ford, great run for him here today. Matter of fact, all the Young Motorsports cars have been up here towards the front at one point or another. Dylan Young's way back there now because he lost all that position from having to slow up for the wreck. But Matt McIntyre holding on to 3rd place. He had a challenge there from Ryan Butcher, turned it away. And now he was able to get a good run on the top 2 last time. Let's see if he can get it again. I think he needs to get that run through 3 and 4 and make his move a little bit sooner on the front straightaway if he's going to pass for position. And if these two start to get racy with each other, that's going to bring Matt McIntyre into the conversation very quickly. How ironic is it right now that if they finish where they finish, we will have Jordan Lopez and Jose Mills finish 1-2 at Michigan in back-to-back seasons. I mean, that is, for a person that has them set at random ratings and has a separation of 36 races from last year's race to this, that just boggles the mind. Battle is on for 3rd. Ryan Brommer continuing to build off the momentum of last week's win at Sonoma, looking for 3rd place on Matt McIntyre, can't do it. Here comes Carson Gum, our Atlanta winner. He's up inside the top 10. Great run right now for the Toontown Chevrolet. And Ryan Acosta now up here as well. Ryan Acosta lost the points lead last week at Sonoma. He is currently running ahead of Mitchell Collins and Carter Freeze, and don't know if he's running high enough to be able to take the points lead, but he'll definitely make it a points battle heading into next week's race at Pikes Peak. Meanwhile, as they battle for third place, that's allowing the top two to get away. And it may end up being, again, for a second straight season, Jordan Lopez versus Jose Mills here at Michigan. Maybe these Toyotas can work together. Matt McIntyre and Ryan Acosta. Ooh, Ryan cutting a little bit of slack there to Matt as you saw him working the brake, pumping the brakes there into turn 3 to avoid running over the 7. And now he's going to step out of line on Matt McIntyre, so that's going to allow first and second to continue to pull away. Looking very much like what it did just before the second caution came out, where Mills and Lopez stayed nose to tail, and they were beginning to open up a big gap back to third place. They've got it again. That's the best battle on tracks for third position. Notice that Jose Mills backed off a little. I think he's trying to get a little bit of a run on this teammate to maybe make a move for this win. Ooh, there you see him backing off just a little in the corner. Maybe being able to get back to the throttle a little sooner. We got a slow car to deal with maybe. That's Jessica Shelton. Don't know if they'll catch her here on this final lap as the white flag is in the air. 1 lap to go here at Michigan. And Mills is there. Jose Mills using the draft. Runs a little bit wider there in turns 1 and 2. He's going to try and get a big run here on the back straightaway. He might have something for Jordan Lopez, and they will catch Shelton probably here into 3 and 4. Oh, this could be very interesting here at Michigan. Into the corner. Where does Lopez go? He's going to try going low. Jose Mills has to go down there as well. Can he get a run off the corner on his teammate? Heading to the start-finish line. Lopez, Mills for the second straight season. They're 1-2, and Lopez wins at Michigan in back-to-back seasons. Jordan Lopez. Last year, he beat his teammate by 0.06 of a second. This year, it was not quite as close. This time, it was about 0.1 tenths. And we almost had ourselves a very interesting finish with Jessica Shelton getting caught right there in 3 and 4 on the final lap, but Jordan Lopez was able to get to the inside. I think Jose Mills would have loved to have swung around the outside, but there just wasn't enough room to maybe try and get the run off turn 4. I think he was trying to hope that maybe his teammate Jordan Lopez would get held up by the 0-2 a little bit so he could make a charge at him off turn 4, but it was not to be. And I can't believe I'm saying this. This is incredible. For the second straight season at Michigan International Speedway, Jordan Lopez wins and Jose Mills finishes second. Back-to-back seasons that took place. That is incredible. So Lopez not only picks up what will be his 4th win of his Duracell Cup Series career, it's his first win of the season, and only 9 races in, Blue Oval Automotive have a win for each one of their drivers. This team, I'm telling you what, they were strong last year and they are strong this year. Same team, same drivers, same manufacturer, and same results. So Lopez, Mills, and Trey Wright looking to get all 3 of those drivers into the playoffs this season. How about Ryan Acosta with a great run there in 3rd? A good recovery run for that team after the hardships of Sonoma last week. Matt McIntyre, great run for him there in 4th, and Ryan Butcher 5th. So he had 2 Fords, 1, 2, and then the rest of the top 5 were all Camrys. Sebastian Kukulon, that was a driver that kind of came from out of nowhere. He was way back at the rear of the field before our first caution. Then when the caution came out, he moved his way up into the top 10 and really never ever fell out. He's going to get Rookie of the Race with a 6th place run. How about our Atlanta winner Carson Gum up there in 7th? So this will definitely move him at least up to 4th in points, maybe a little bit higher, but we'll have to wait and see. Matthew Rodriguez, good run for him. He was inside the top 10 early, kind of faded out to the top 15, moved back into the top 10 in the late stages. He'll get 8th. Austin LaPlante and Matt Haas, like I mentioned, 2 drivers that we really didn't talk about today. They popped up into the top 10 late for 9th and 10th place. Ryan Brommer, after his victory last week, he brings it home in the 11th position, so he continues to move his way up through the point standings. How about Keith Batson? He finished 4th here 1 year ago, and he was able to fight his way up to a top 15 finish in 12th. Levi McIntyre was 13th. 14th was Mitchell Collins, and Adam Garcia kind of faded back late to the 15th position. Pole sitter Michael Norman brings it home in 16th. Carter Friesen 17th. Casey Nanico in 18th. Derek Campbell, that car was damaged. Not necessarily off the pace, but he was damaged. He somehow was able to battle back for a 19th place run, and James Qualls completed the top 20. Look on down through the remainder of the finishing result, and a couple of notables of drivers that were up towards the front at one point or another in this race. You got Chris Dollerton back there in 23rd, Zach Rogers in 26th, Kyle Matthews, he was up in the top 5 early on. He's going to finish all the way back in 27th. He got involved in our last caution. And the last car to finish on the lead lap was Jessie Turner in the 30th position. Jessica Shelton, we saw go a lap down there on the final lap. She finished in 31st, and everybody else finished out of the race. Jack Mitchell, Benny Watson, Cole Baker, Wyatt Quayle, Vince Almriego, Charles Sanford, William Brock, Alexander Rowe, and Benjamin Miles. But that is going to do it here from Michigan International Speedway. Back-to-back seasons that Jordan Lopez goes to victory lane, and he does it over teammate Jose Mills. Hope you guys enjoyed today's race here from the Irish Hills. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, become part of the crew today. We have shown you your full finishing results, and these are your point standings heading into next week. Next week, we're going to Pikes Peak. That is the race that Zach Rogers picked up his first career Duracell Cup Series victory at. So we'll see if he's going to be able to double down at Pikes Peak Raceway. Until then, though, I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching a production of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best.